Hello.
Hello, how are you two doing today?
Good,
Good. How
good.
are you?
Doing great, doing great. Thanks so much for hopping on a call. It's
No,
genuinely, yeah.
yeah, thank you, David, for inviting us. And also really glad that we finally got to work together this year. It's been, I think, like 2 years-ish in the making. So yeah, glad to get it.
Probably,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah, and funny enough, today we got y'all's coffees on the shelves finally as well,
Amazing.
which is awesome. And we even as a staff we cupped all of the new coffees for retail, and we all loved them. Well, so it was fantastic. Great way to start yesterday and today, let alone being able to sit down and chat with you guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah, well, would love to, as people who might watch this, or as you guys know, obviously, we used your coffees for our subscription in July, and just absolutely amazing. I presume I found you on Instagram, but I don't quite remember. I'm pretty sure that's it, honestly. Nonetheless, tell us a little bit, just about kind of both of y'all's story of, how you got into coffee and how Moonwake kind of transpired.
Yeah, let Ming go first. He's kind of the I guess how do they call it? Like brainchild of Moonwake and kind of took me along this journey. So I'll have him start off.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's a big honor to be a part of your lineup and a part of your subscriptions. You guys have done fantastic work. Everything I've seen online. I mean, we got to go out and visit you guys sometimes, but it's just a big honor to be even a part of this. So thank you for having us. But yeah, our journey I think started with specifically me. Mabel has always been more of a baker, where I found coffee when I was still working in the tech industry. Basically, I helped start a little coffee club. I think like we were buying probably like the lowest grade coffee you could find. I think I found like the roast date on it, and it was like multiple years old that they're using for batch brewers in the office. So, anyways, we thought we could cobble together some equipment from like Craigslist and
Yeah.
at least do a better job than that. And it really started this whole escape from the workplace sort of time where we could like chat with coworkers as human beings, kind of connect over other things in our lives, and just use it as a method of escape while discovering like, really complex and really interesting coffees. So that got me into roasting coffee. This was probably around 2020-ish area or slightly before. And just doing it on the side at home. Started with the classic like frying pan and, absolutely charring a bunch of beans. But yeah, it just got more and more interesting. We sold to friends and family,
Yeah.
just as a way to, share what we're doing. And yeah, I think it started growing from there into more of like pop-ups, but that's when Mabel kind of jumped in and started getting more interested as well. So yeah, you can probably continue the rest of the story.
Yeah, the funny thing is that I've always tried to be like supportive of Ming's hobbies and his passions and all of those things. And at first, I would have Ming help me make my coffee in the morning and be like, oh, okay, like I'll let him, this is like his passion, like project or at least like hobby. So why don't I have him make me my coffee, like make me my espresso? And then it got to a point where I was like, huh, I'm like candidly a little too impatient to wait for him to make it for me. So I started, making it myself and getting, also learning more about like the craft of it and the science, like a lot of, science and physics. Ming's the engineer. I'm more of like, I have like an economics background. But him sharing that knowledge with me, I got really excited about, just learning all the different variables, right, that go into like brewing coffee and enjoying coffee and tasting coffee. So that, kind of became my introduction into like making coffee
Yeah.
at as a as an enthusiast as well. And then like Ming said, after we started like sharing our coffee with our friends and our family, they really encouraged us to try sharing it with more than just friends and family and try to go out there with random people. Started with like our neighborhood groups, like Facebook groups at the time. This was during like COVID, was really supportive of, hey, like you guys have a great hobby, like let's kind of support local business. And then we decided, hey, not everyone has the way to brew coffee at home, right? Or to enjoy these coffees at home, or maybe not even like the knowledge, right, to brew it. So why don't we go out there and just try to do some pop-ups and bring our coffee to the people, serve them what we think is a great representation of the excellent coffee that we source and we roast.
Yeah.
And then that kind of exploded into like farmers markets. We did that for a couple years. Our booth definitely grew from, a little tiny single group head to two home prosumer machines to like eventually a commercial machine. And then that really got us excited about, finally opening up a retail spot and having a home, right, for us to share these experiences and to also roast and
Yeah.
just do all of the things that we love about specialty coffee and share it with people. And of course, like create that space that people want to be in and want to partake in. So that's kind of our story.
Yeah.
We both quit our jobs in tech to go all in on this full
Yeah.
time, just feeling that draw and feeling that passion and energy that we get from, serving a human being versus, like
Mm.
typing on a computer. That just,
Mm.
there's no, no comparable feeling to that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys obviously roast and work with, wonderful producers and all the above. I'm genuinely amazed that like all of this has happened within about 5 years. That's remarkable. That's a remarkable jump. So, for both of you, were there moments, in your beginnings in which you were like starting to realize, wow, we're doing something special, or when you were just like, wow, like this is, yeah, like I think people are actually really getting on to what we're doing. Yeah.
I think that was probably definitely when we started doing pop-ups and like the farmers market. Getting that like in-person like interaction, that conversation. The interesting thing is that like we started selling our coffee online, like direct to consumer, but the internet, of course, is such a huge, huge place that it's really difficult to actually find people, and like put yourself out there. And what makes our coffee different than all the other roasters that you could Google, right? And you can search. But for us, when we went to the farmers market, we were really intentional about like having those conversations with our local community. And we had a pour over bar at the farmers market, which is kind of crazy to think. Like in addition to like espresso, we also had a pour over bar and having those like kind of very intentional connections about like, hey, this is the coffee that we serve, and people were super stoked to have this like pour over experience. That gave us a really strong signal, like, okay, I think we're doing the right thing. Like slowly building on
Mm,
what the customer feedback is and hearing from people like, oh, I really enjoyed this experience. All of that was just really validating for us as we decided to kind of continue take we've always kind of had this paradigm of like taking calculated risks. So operating in like, okay, let's take like one step, not too big of a step where if we need to we can always backtrack, but big enough that we can get some useful information, right, or useful signal. And that's just kind of how we built, like grown our business. It's just taking those one step at a time, and iterating, constantly iterating as well.
yeah, absolutely. Well, as this entire thing has just transpired, you guys have now been working with amazing producers, and within that, have you guys, come to just love? I mean, obviously you love, I'm sure, every coffee producer and farmer and co-op you work with, obviously. Um, but over the last few years, have there been like like somewhat more special connections or producers that you're like, man, like you're just so excited that like you get to roast the coffee and share it with people.
You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably two that come to mind that, well, like you said, all of them have made, big impacts for us. But there's two that definitely come to mind. Um, Wilton Benitez, I think we can start with that one from Granja Paraíso 92. I think like when these sort of like more processed experimental coffees first hit the market, it was pretty polarizing. These are like yeast inoculated coffees. This is when like people went crazy with like how many words can you fit in the process? Like, thermal shock plus like 10 other words.
Yeah.
Definitely divisive. But when we worked with Wilton and when we met with him at SCA, he just kind of brought everything back down to earth. I think it's easy to see the experimental side as sort of like a movement away from the terroir or the just like the pure expression of coffee. and it's maybe can be pretentious because of how like specialized the equipment is, but you know, like meeting Wilton, it was just like you can immediately tell he's doing it just because he loves the flavors. He has a huge passion for helping the farmers around him get better prices for their coffee. And ultimately, he's just in it to, do good for the local community while having fun. And I think that really resonated with us. It really like vibed well with us too for what we're trying to do. We're trying to, obviously bring good coffees to people, but not take ourselves so seriously that we can't have fun and just enjoy something for what it is. So Wilton, he's like just a super happy guy. Loves to joke, loves to laugh about things. Is kind of a person that you can imagine like meeting randomly and just like hitting it off with at a bar for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Definitely made a big impact to us and kind of grounds us, even if some people really like that profile or don't really like experimental processed coffees. Um, it's all for the kind of the love of expanding the horizons of what coffee could be. And,
Mhm.
I think that was one that really hit special for us. The other one, probably you can talk more about, the legend. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny to have them in the same conversation because I don't know if people would typically have them, but it's our one of our good friends, Pepe Jijon, as well as his son Jose. So they're from Finca Soledad, like over in Ecuador. Very, very well known in the specialty coffee industry, of course. But we got connected through, like we have some friends, like Hydrangea was also like a big friend of Pepe, but. We got to meet him. We actually got to host him at our coffee shop in December after kind of just working virtually, right, with WhatsApp and roasting his coffees, but getting
Mhm.
to meet him in person and kind of hear his philosophy. It's a very different approach than Wilton for sure. Like Pepe is very much about like exploring what the land has to offer, right? Like terroir driven coffees and just how beautiful, coffee can be. And he's just such a pure soul in terms of like he's doing it similar to, like how Wilton's doing it for the love of coffee. Like Pepe very much is like, this is how I choose to like love my coffees and present my coffees in these ways. And you can just taste, kind of that like dedication and that passion and like obsessive, just like pursuit of excellence in his work. And again, just like getting to meet him and Jose in person and like hearing their stories and hearing their backgrounds was just so special and we're always just so grateful for being able to meet the people behind like all of the great coffee that we serve, the backbreaking work, right, that goes into picking and processing and developing all the profiles and honestly like how risky it is, right, even from a like safety, physical safety but also financial like risk. They're doing the most for sure, and we
Wow.
always try our best to present their product in the best way. So yeah, we're hopefully excited to collaborate further with them, do hopefully do some special like either Moonwake specific type of collaborations that hopefully our customers can get excited about as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, both incredible producers, just their coffees obviously are insane. And yesterday when we cupped y'all's coffees that we just got, the Wilton Red Bourbon, was yeah, it was a favorite on the table. I mean, the other ones were as well. The owl was up there, same with the Curie Mahiga and the the Finca Juan Martin. They were just all like in it was a good cupping, I should say. Like there were other good coffees on the table. But all of yours were bangers and they were in like everyone's like top like between 5 and 10 coffees on the table and it was just like this is great, happy to, have them and so yeah, Wilton Beniza's coffees every time we've had them, they've been insane and we were lucky to even have I believe lager Tipica from you guys for the subscription. That was pretty wild, y'all. That was a fun time. I was surprised how I was unsure how I would think about it. So, but that was a delight. Sorry, I'm just getting ahead of myself. But going back to you guys for a second, I think if I remember correctly, y'all roasted for just a wee bit on I think it was a drum roaster of some sort. But now y'all are roasting on the Loring I know y'all made that switch sometime last year, and what was the, desire, or hope, or, dream of why Loring is good and we should move to Loring? Yeah.
Yeah, I could probably cover that one. So we were on a Probat for the majority of our time. We started with like kind of like a equivalent to a Probat, but a smaller like Chinese manufactured drum roaster in our garage way in the beginning. Once we started growing more serious, we drove up to Coro in Oakland to rent time with their Probat. It's a fantastic machine, and it definitely produced some of our favorite coffees ever. But switching to Loring, I won't say like one is necessarily better than the other. Like there's certain profiles that will always taste really nice on a Probat, I think. There's just like a nice sugariness that it adds, having a little bit more like drum conduction. For us, we were building out our shop and roastery, so we needed something small, but something that would churn out a lot of coffee.
Mhm.
And we were in California, so we kind of have some special considerations to make, both practical and for like the taste profile that made us go with Loring.
Mhm.
I mean, I'll quickly cover them, but from a sensory perspective, I think what we've always wanted to strive for was transparency, and kind of really capturing that feeling of what that coffee is like on the farm, like smelling the coffee blossoms, the florals, being able to really taste like the ripe fruit and just have like this really transparent expression of what the coffee is all about. So I've always tended to prefer air roasters over drum roasters to get a little bit closer to that.
Mhm.
Especially roasting super light. Sometimes it's less forgiving with a drum roaster. You get a little bit less of that transparency, and you risk maybe not cooking the inside of the bean just enough. So having some kind of
Mhm.
like a little bit of grassier flavors. So that's one reason, but the other side is the practical reasons, which are huge.
Mhm.
Loring is manufactured in California. It's actually drivable from where we're at. So if we need parts, the roaster breaks down. It's the heart of our operation, so we can't
Yeah.
afford it to be down.
Mhm.
Luckily, their facilities is really close to us, so we could get spare parts more easily. California air is really strict on emissions.
Mhm.
So Loring is one of the only roasters where you don't need an afterburner, which is like another add-on that costs just as much as a roaster to just burn chaff. So
Oof.
it's a ton of fuel, costs a ton of money.
Mhm.
Loring recirculates the air and reburns the air. So we basically save having a whole nother extra machine that we'd have to buy.
Yeah.
And just generally, it can go really fast because it has less mass of a steel drum, so you can heat it up faster and
Mhm.
you can do back-to-back batches faster between roasts.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people don't really know if they don't roast, obviously, that there's many like practical considerations you have to take into account when buying a roaster. It's not always purely for the taste, although in our case, there's some of the best roasters in the world use Lorings, and
Mhm.
we know that they can produce fantastic coffee. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's kind of the general. We
Yeah.
always go through this like matrix of like pros and cons before we make a decision, especially with something like that. But for
Mhm.
us, I think it was the right choice.
Yeah. No, you guys are killing it too. So it was just a delight. I remember when, y'all or Mabel, you sent me samples after y'all had switched to the Lorraine. It was just like, and just as good. Great. It was just like, I was just such a delight. We have about five to, I think at this point, between six or seven roasters that we work with basically quite a bit. And now having you guys is just another roaster also who works on the Loring. And so it's been nice to kind of have that. I don't know particularly why, but a few years back we had worked with some roasters who, had the Loring, and I don't know if it was the machine, I'm not particularly a roaster at all, so I don't know too much, but we had some coffees from some roasters who roasted on the Loring, and we were just kind of confused with the results, and they were kind of known to be good roasters, and so we were just unsure, and we've even talked to actually a lot of great roasters like yourselves about this, why that's been a thing, and some people have had answers, some people haven't, and so it's been interesting to just like, I don't know, have that ongoing conversation because we don't know, we're just trying to brew every roaster's coffee very well, every producer's coffee well, and so it's like help us whenever that happens. But no, yeah, it's the Loring's been fantastic. We work right now currently with probably Plot, Momos. Um, we're about to start working with Swevin. They're great as well, and Ilsa and I believe HNS also roast on the Loring. I might be wrong, actually. I would have to double check with
I
Coulter,
think
but
HNS is still on a Diedrich, if I recall correctly.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, I have to double. Yeah, can't
Who's
remember.
to say? Roasting on something. Anyway, just happy you guys are happy with your choice, and genuinely excited to come visit you guys. I try to get out to California every few years or so, so I'll probably try to hit you guys up next year just to come, enjoy enjoy myself, honestly.
I was gonna say SCA or World of Coffee is in
Yes,
San Diego next year, so just
yes.
an hour flight away.
Oh,
Not too bad.
so
Yeah,
close, so
yeah.
close.
Well, if anything, we'll see you at World of Coffee, I think.
Correct. 100%.
Yeah.
Genuinely looking forward to it. We're gonna have a blast. Yeah, well, real quick, or well, not real quick, but let's move into kind of chatting about the coffees that we got to use and just like a little bit about them, And so I think the first coffee was that Sudan Rume that we used for our approachable. Tell us maybe just like how you kind of got hold of this coffee, why you loved this coffee, and yeah.
Yeah, so there was a exporter that we worked with that we just found for a lot of really good Colombian farms that, we've heard about but never really had access to. This was one of them. And James Ferdinand's is our first time working with him as a producer. I think I've always been a fan of Sudan Rumes in general. It's a really interesting varietal, but it can often lean too heavily into just like herbal flavors, maybe like spice flavors. It's been pretty hard to find a producer who's really made one that's like truly well balanced with like fruits and florals and just like really nice
Mhm.
complexity. This was one of our first, I think this might have been our first washed Sudan Rume ever. And we were kind of blown away when we got the lots to sample from his farm. It's just very, very clean, but very complex. So it's one of those where you can brew it two different ways and end up with a completely different experience. One that's like super
Mhm.
floral and a lot of like lovely tea flavors blending
Yeah.
into citrus. A lot of times we brew it or we pull it on espresso and it's like, oh wow, it turned like tropical all of a sudden. So it's a really, really nice and well received washed coffee. We've done a lot of work trying to improve our roasting of washed coffees. It's like particularly requires a few tricks on a Loring to get just perfect. And this was one of them where everybody on our staff really loved it right off the bat.
Oh,
So yeah, just super interesting, super transformative. Definitely a fantastic producer we're going to start working with a lot more often.
yeah.
But yeah, just lucky that we were able to find them.
Yeah.
And a couple of the other farmers in that area.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
coffee, I think we put lavender as one of the notes.
Yeah.
I was at first I was hesitant or like we were hesitant to put it on because lavender can be a pretty polarizing like note, but for me this is like the perfect amount of lavender without it smelling like poopery, right? Or like something that you're like, this is, like overwhelming. It's just like this is lavender done right. Or
Yes.
at least like that florality is just so subtle and just kind of like dances and
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
overwhelm the whole cup.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, that's what I think most people have been really excited about that floral, like how floral this coffee is for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah, I don't remember all the tasting notes on the bag, but like my tasting notes from like both on pour over and espresso were like white grape, like juicy cara orange, papaya sweetness, peaches, juicy, guava, floral, lavender. Like it just, like two or three other, it just goes on. Like it was just such a delight of a coffee that it was like both as an espresso and a pour over. I was just so thrilled. It was like it's one of those coffees that like if I were to have bought it, I just like every day I'd be like savoring it. You know what I mean? So yeah, just again, I was just so happy and kind of neat to hear your understanding of Sudan Rumes and finding this one that's like a little bit more balanced, like again, things that I just like wouldn't think about. And so it's kind of cool that you happened upon this one and now you're gonna be working with them. So let's go. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome to
Great.
hear your experience with it so far. Yeah, um, whenever the tropicals pop out for me too, it's really exciting.
Oh yeah. Oh, super fun, super juicy, and just a delight. Yeah, yeah. Well, moving on to the lager Tipica. What what was y'all's reaction when you first tasted this coffee? Like what was going through your head, honestly?
Yeah, honestly, with like some of these processed forward ones, especially the lager, I remember like it's always a good sign when, we sample roast it, we have no expectations going in, and we cup it, and it's like the first reaction is like laughter. Um,
You're like, is this for real? Like, I can't believe I'm experiencing this. That's, I think the first thing I almost like, I don't know if the Mario movie came out like when we first sampled it, but that was pretty much like I was singing that Peach song like in my head, and I was like, it's just Peach, like, and then a little bit of that, like, that goes it, like, as it goes, that kind of like, retro nasal is where you get some of that, like, the processing. But this is,
Yeah.
yeah, that this one has been on our menu at least, I want to say like almost the longest, or at least like we've
Oh,
kept it on the menu the longest because
yeah.
of this kind of like delight factor that, people that especially are new to fruit forward coffees, they kind of want to know like, oh, well, what do you mean when it says peach like on a coffee bag, or like what does that mean? I'm used to things being like chocolate and like cocoa, right? And then we give
Mhm.
them this like peach bomb and they're like, wow, that is 100% peach. I've
Yeah.
not converted, but at least like helped like expand, right, people's perspectives from like I only drink like dark roast to be like I'm actually going to buy this coffee because
Yeah.
this blew me away. Those
Yeah.
were like the moments that we live for, is just like helping expand people's perspective and make them more open. And this coffee is been such a important, I guess, like representation of how we want to present or bring people into the fold, right, of
Yeah.
specialty coffee. And yeah, it is processed, but at the same time, I think we can still have fun with it and,
Yeah.
pivot over back to, for example, like that wash Sudan Rume, right? And kind of develop that appreciation and that variety of
Yeah.
like perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
like a gateway coffee for us.
Mm,
People coming from the world of like milk type levels of body and like like a sugary sweetness from an artificial sweetener. It can be
mm,
obviously really jarring to jump from that to black coffee that's light roasted with, a
yeah.
lot of like intricate fruits from like a just traditional wash process.
Mm,
But this, and it's incredibly hard, like based on what we've sampled, for a producer to really nail like this advanced processing like this. Wilton
mm,
is obviously an expert, a master at this craft. It's just really punchy body, clearly defined like peach note, but like a candy-like sweetness with no like, sugar added.
yeah.
And it's just a really eye opener, I think, for a lot of people who maybe don't really know what the specialty coffee is about, or
Yeah.
thinks that it's basically the same. This is like a really good, like, just a way to shock them into realizing there's a whole other world to potentially explore if you're interested.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Tasting this coffee, I don't know what y'all's like first introduction to like yeast inoculated coffees or even co-ferment, so to speak. But this, we had a couple years back whenever a guy named Daniel Ricci got second in the World Barista Championship. We had his coffee that he used from Mame, that was produced by, Julio Madrid of Finca Milan. And it was created with this incredible yeast strain that allowed it to be just watermelon forward. And honestly, when I drank this coffee, it just like reminded me of that just amazing flavor profile of just like having this, just bringing it out of the coffee, of just being like, here's the flavor, enjoy it. Like very, very much so. And I think my favorite personal part of this coffee was just how sweet it was. It is re remarkable, genuinely. And Yeah, I had no bad no bad things. It was just genuinely like if I haven't sent you this, I will send you kind of like I write down for every subscription kind of like my tasting notes and how I brew it. And like a little like kind of like thing about that coffee that I think and literally I wrote like again another insane tasting experience, just like you know everything from dragon fruit to passion fruit to just like everything in between was just amazing. The Peaches song is actually a really funny. That actually makes so much sense. I did not think about that.
Yeah, I just like laugh and then, every time someone orders it, they're like, "Oh my God, it's peach." And then I just like in my head, like Bowser's like at the piano, and doing all that. So, yeah, it's just that like fun, right? Like coffee can be fun and you can enjoy it and it's okay, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you don't always have to, feel so like, oh, like prim and proper about it. And I think, yeah, Wilton
yeah.
is embodiment of like, hey, let's just have fun. Let's enjoy, crazy coffees, whether it's yeah he inoculated with yeast and but end of the day we're still having a good time and enjoying it together, and it's not harming his colleagues and the producers. If anything, it's introducing them to like other customers that might want to try this coffee as well and bringing more opportunity to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Just amazing. I'm so glad we got to try it. And I don't remember. Do you guys currently still have it? I don't remember.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we still have it right now. We basically work with Wilton to try to have it as a staple basically year round, if we
Let's
can.
go.
Um,
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, I will most likely place an order for the cafe at some point. I almost did it this last round. I was like, I don't know how long it would take keeping it, but I was just like, we can start slow and then get some of the crazy stuff.
Yeah,
For sure. Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Well, moving on, this Colombia Raquel Lasso was an absolute delight. Yeah, yeah. Just again, how'd you guys kind of get a hold of this coffee?
Yeah, I actually think it was the same exporter, I believe, where we had the Loaja, the Sudan Rume. So this was another coffee on that table, and it was kind of like a two-step story. We've been trying to, Brian Quan, the coffee influencer, is a good friend of ours, and we've worked together a couple times, just like highlighting different areas of the coffee industry or coffees, but. He's always had a huge preference for wash coffees, and we've never been able to really find one that kind of all of us agreed was, a fantastic collaboration. Like we were all super stoked and had nothing bad to say.
Yeah.
This was one of the first times on the cupping table where it was like truly like a crowd pleaser, but it satisfied like everybody's needs.
Mhm.
Usually washed geishas, which are probably my favorite type of coffee. They have a pretty predictable flavor profile, I'd say most of the time. A lot of great stone fruit, obviously a ton of florals and citrus. But it's pretty rare to have one with a lot of like redder colored flavors.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
hibiscus type florals, more of like the berry type notes,
Yeah.
coming from a washed coffee versus like naturals where you usually get more of those.
Hmm.
And so this was just amazing just because of how much of that red flavor you got while still being a more delicate tea-like coffee with a vibrant, very crisp and clear acidity. So we
Hmm.
were super stoked. Raquel Lasso is definitely also a legend in Colombia and have helped a lot of women producers specifically. So, it's fantastic to support her whenever roasters get a chance, and this was definitely like we had to get this coffee. We actually ordered too much of that coffee, um, so I'm glad you guys got some and we got to share it with more people. We were a little exuberant at how much we liked it. We were about to like freeze some just to keep it in our green storage for longer. But we ended up, yeah, being able to just share it with more people, which we loved. And everybody in Brian Quan's kind of like world and sphere got to try it and also loved it. So it's
Yeah.
just nice. It's like all the nice jasmine florals and citrus and stone
Yeah.
fruit, but with all this just like extra red fruit
Yeah.
flavors that yeah, we loved a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really
Absolutely.
special coffee for us for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, funny enough, I believe it was a week or 2 weeks prior to getting it from you guys for the subscription, we actually had just had it on pour over, from some coffee here in St. Louis. And it was just as good. Yours was more like just red. And it was just absolutely amazing. You know, the one that Scott Carriott some did, also delicious, but it was like more towards a floral, like just focus. And so it was fun to have, yeah, like you said, a washed gesha that was like I was tasting raspberry and rose hips and hibiscus a little bit more upfront. It just like a genuine delight. Yeah, red berries. I wrote down even lemon verbena. You know, just green tea. Just everything was just like very silky and enjoyable and clean. And it was just, yeah, it was such a neat coffee. I'm so happy that we happened to get it. So that worked out well. It's just so tasty for a washed gesha that was. I felt a smidge more expressive than like atypical gesha. So it was such a delight. It was yeah, team go team. No big deal.
We
Yeah.
like triple checked the processing notes. We're like, okay, is this like truly washed? Like, is it like there's no extra, like fermentation? Is it like actually washed? We like checked with our green sorcerer Harry, who, did a lot of the heavy lifting and props to him for getting this coffee. But we're like, okay, we're like 99.99% confident like this is washed. So there's always something you never know, but we just wanted to make like extra sure. It was like this is for sure like a washed coffee.
That's actually
Yeah.
kind of funny. You're just like,
Yeah.
wait.
Like, wait, how can this taste, how can this taste the way that it is, right? With
Mhm.
just being pure
Mhm.
washed. And that's why we were so excited to make sure or to share it and like again, make sure it was like actually washed.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely amazing, and I'm so glad we got to try it. Yeah. Well, I have to say my favorite of the subscription was the last one, which was the CGLE Honey Cedra.
Oh no.
Was what?
Oh no, it just lagged a little bit.
Oh,
Sorry. You
sorry,
can
you're good.
yeah, you can read
Uh,
it.
the the Finca Potosi Honey Cedra. Yeah, it was it was a delight. It was a real anytime we personally speaking, anytime us at Comet have a coffee from them, it is cherished beyond belief. Very much so. So this was just another one that was like, yep, we all love this coffee on the table. So yeah, it was probably like in our top three, like at one of the cuppings we had, and it was just like this is just such a delight. Yeah, again, just what's y'all's story of just getting this coffee and what was your reaction to it?
Yeah, I think this was part of our first round of working with this group, CGLE. Um, and I think our first time ordering from Finca Potosi as well. But CGLE coffees all have a very I don't know what it is in their fermentation protocol or the way that they all grow their coffee, but it has a very distinct taste that automatically kind of sets it apart from everything else that
Oh.
we were definitely blown away with the first time we tried it. And then specifically for Finca Potosi, I've had a lot of their kind of like XO process and some of the really crazy stuff from other roasters in the past, and I've always assumed that, that's kind of where you go for like just far out, like overly fermented and like crazy profiles.
Mhm.
But this Cedro was incredible. It was like actually, it's hard to say something processed like that can be clean, but it was actually very still clean in that world.
Mhm.
And CGLE coffees always have this kind of like silky body and creaminess that
Mhm.
I just
Yeah.
can't find elsewhere. So it was a big delight. And I'm a huge fan of honey processed coffees. They're hard to do well, I feel like, from a producer side and a
Mm,
roaster side.
yeah.
And this one just really hit. Like everything lined up perfectly. And we get like that. It's actually really fun to compare that with the Raquel Lasso because you get
Mm,
way more of the red flavors, but now you get kind of boosted below it all of this like rich creaminess that makes the flavor just linger for a super long time.
mm,
Sometimes you can get like tropical creaminess. I think we put like mangosteen on that one if I recall correctly.
mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
just yeah, that like really round and like um ripe fruit just comes out so well in their
Mm,
process. And yeah, it's a our first foray working with CGLE and Finca Potosi, but we have a second coffee from them now, a Pink Bourbon Natural, also
mhm,
equally good, a touch more winey.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, we were instantly sold when we tried their coffees.
Yeah.
And that's been actually, I think, one of our cafe favorites as well. Usually, when
Yeah.
we have that on the pour over lineup, we
Mm,
have like four coffees at a time. A lot of the time, that ends up being everybody's favorite on the
yeah.
pour over bar. So,
Oh man.
yeah.
Oh, I love to hear it. Yeah. Oh, sorry. But yeah, I got to real quick say that we're such a huge fan of CGLE. Me and one of actually our head roaster here, we're just anytime we get one in, and we've gotten quite a bit from Knockbox, which is our favorite roaster in Hong Kong. They've always hit, and we've always just been just high over the moon, just having way too much fun. So it was one of those where like I didn't even need to see like what the varietal process or tasting notes was when I just saw that you had one. It was just like that's I'm probably gonna be like probably will be getting that. And yesterday when we cupped we also had the pink bourbon as
Oh yeah,
well. And it was
yeah.
fantastic. So I was like, yep, we'll probably throw that in the next order as well. And just slowly going through everything, which is just a delight. And man, as an espresso, like for me, straight like strawberry Jolly Rancher, peaches galore, still that cranberry, still floral. It was just so fun up front. It was just, yeah, it was ridiculous. I pulled a few shots for, a few different customers every once in a while because it's like, oh, this tastes good. You want to try? And they were just like, "What did you pull?" And I was like, well, it's all good. I don't know. Anyway, but it was
No,
very,
that's
very
amazing.
good. Yeah, yeah, and then lastly, just chatting about Wilton's decaf. Absolutely insane. Yeah, what was what of the world of decaf for you guys as roasters? Like where does this compare as either being just like the most fun to work with or like the most tasty that you may have up there, maybe on your list?
Yeah, I mean, decaf is such a, you know,
Misunderstood.
yeah, misunderstood, difficult thing to really do well. I mean, sourcing for decafs is a very, I mean, I'll just say it, it's like a painful process. It's so easy for the types of decaf processes out there to really just destroy all the characters of the coffee. You end up tasting like you learn very quickly what a decaf taste like flavor is, and then it's just levels of how much that covers up, the good stuff underneath.
Mm,
And for us, it's been a huge priority to treat decafs just as highly as any other of our most special coffees.
you know,
Just because somebody is, I mean, it's actually more important in my opinion, just because people who are really getting into this really want to hone in their dialing profiles, their equipment. They need to brew a lot of coffees, and not everybody has a caffeine tolerance, that can really stand up to that. So having something representative in a light roast form, especially for decaf, was a big priority. And yeah, luckily Wilton's Rubber Bone was something that we were already sourcing for a while, and when we tried the decaf version of it, yeah, because of the yeast inoculation and how much fruit character it had, most of that can survive the decaf process.
mm,
And when you
mm,
roast it, when you adjust the roast profile correctly for it being a decaf, you can really just try to do everything to optimize preserving those fruit and floral flavors as best as possible.
mm.
And ironically, we didn't expect it to be, but it's like one of our best selling coffees in general.
Yeah,
Um,
people buy like, kilograms of it at a time, just for like their stash. Um, and it is one of those coffees where like a lot of people have said sometimes this tastes better than some regular like non-decaf coffees,
Yeah.
which I think is like amazing to see how much potential like
Yeah.
decaf can have. You think about people that have maybe like heart issues or taking medication, right, where they can't have caffeine but they still love coffee, right? Like those
Mm,
are actually the people that, the purists, right? That's like they're doing it for the taste, not for the caffeine kick. So we just, like Ming said, still want to put a lot of that intentionality and like, you know, like care into sourcing a really great decaf. So far this has been the best one that we found, and a lot of people are always asking like, hey, let's like, I hope you don't run out because this is like, the best decaf that's out there, and we're honestly very grateful,
Yeah.
to be like in that consideration. But I again, just like I love it when people say like this doesn't even taste like decaf, or like
Yeah.
this, I can't tell that this is decaf.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was absolutely amazing. And funny enough, we've had that coffee from September before. And
Mhm.
so it was just a delight to taste it and be like, yeah, this is just as good, if not better. Like just absolutely amazing. One thing that I, genuinely speaking and personally felt is that like this one had like more body to it, which personally I really loved, is that it just felt like it was all there all together, and yeah, kind of something like you said, is a lot of decafs just they do take a lot out, and so this was just nice to like have something that I felt like it was all there, and I didn't have to like worry about it not being to an extent. Yeah, and quite honestly, you're right. It's so much better than a lot of the other caffeine coffees out there, which is just very, very funny. Yeah, even better than some of the coffees on the table that we had yesterday. So it was just like it's just wild. It's like allowed and like that can happen. Anyway. But
Uh, Yeah, we still have a lot of really good decaf projects coming. Like we have found this really good one, and we're so thankful that we can still get this done. I know Wilton has had some hiccups on his end in terms of like switching decaf facilities. It is a lot more logistics involved than a normal coffee because now you have to send it after everything's done to another place to get it decaffeinated and the quality control that's needed. But we definitely aren't settling with anything that we're doing, and that includes decaf as well. So hopefully in the future we'll find some others or work with Wilton to produce some other special ones that will be just as good, if not better, and even more special. So
yeah.
yeah, for all the decaf drinkers out there, we definitely care a lot about you guys.
Yeah, I love to hear it. Yeah, we try to at least have 2 to 3 different decaf offerings at any given time. So that's like it's also another thing that will most likely be in order either next month or the following or in a couple weeks. Who's to say? Which is just exciting because it's very very tasty. No big deal. Uh, but well, I forgot. Lastly, we used the red Bourbon Wilton for our mystery coffee, and obviously insane. Uh, like I mentioned, um, the other GM with me, Haley, she when we were cupping yesterday was like just very much pointed that one out, and literally I don't remember which words of the tasting notes you guys have on there, but she had literally said word for word one of them, whether it was like strawberry cream or I don't remember which one, but it was one of those where she was just like, "That's crazy," and I was like, "That is the." Down. It's just wild. Genuinely so thankful to have it on the shelves. We even this morning we had 2 guys come in they bike to Comet every morning. And one guy was nice and was like, "What's fruity and fun? What do I need to get?" And today was the first day we had you on the shelves. And literally just walked straight up to the Red Bourbon. I was like, I got not much better than this. Like, uh, so he was like, really? Like, who is this? I was like, new roaster. They just got it. So I promise they're great. And he was like, sure, okay. So I'm sure you're gonna have a fan in like a week when he's tasted it and has come back to try. We will also have that coffee on espresso, which I am very, very excited about. Very, very much so. No big deal.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
one, I think we actually prefer it on espresso over pour over.
Mm.
At least us personally. There's still people that still enjoy it as pour over. But it just like mo I feel like sometimes light roast coffees can get a little weird with milk, but this one is like, hey, you pull a cortado, it's like a strawberry like milkshake, and it's just so fun. And I think this is where I would always the most versatile like fruit forward coffee. And I get really excited whenever we have it on espresso as well at the shop. I'm like, yes, like this is going to be the
Yeah.
fun, like a fun day when we have Riverbone on
Yeah,
espresso.
it's probably the most common one that we have on espresso. Like if you were
Yeah.
to average everything out, I think rubber bone has been on espresso the most, mainly because it works so well in every format. Highly recommend as like a espresso tonic as well.
Hmm.
Sparkly strawberry soda, it's tough to beat. But yeah, it punches through milk incredibly well, and it tastes great by itself.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just like super,
Wow.
super versatile and well done fermentation.
Yeah. I completely forgot. We need to put it in our espresso and tonic and try that because that sounds
Yeah,
actually insane. I didn't even think about
very,
that,
very
honestly.
good. Highly recommend. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, so now, as you guys opened up, a new cafe space, being a roaster, like, are you the kind of roaster slash cafe that, like, do you serve like every one of your coffees on pour over an espresso, or like, do you do a select? Like, how the heck do you choose? Like, what does that look like for you, dude?
This is like the stress of every day. Like Ming's thinking about like what are we gonna put tomorrow? Like what do we have, available? So he can share more about that.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have a better run ship than we do because I feel like a lot of time I'm just like, oh, well, this is the only thing that's rested. I guess we're putting this on espresso today. Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of it is like, just based on ideal rest schedule, like which ones are hitting their peak flavors in which order.
Yeah.
We do a little bit of like, you know, triaging and alignment. Like some
Yeah.
coffees are just way too delicate to put on our
Yeah.
espresso. They just don't hold up as well. Some coffees, on the other hand, can be just overwhelming a little bit as pour over and tend to just come out really nice as espresso.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really depends. We try to put uh yeah, like at least four pour overs on the menu at any time. And
Mm.
we try to make sure that we're covering generally like good washed, clean profiles as well as like fermentation forward profiles,
Yeah.
like advanced processing. So we try to have an option for everybody. But a lot of it is just the chaos of whatever. It's kind of like yeah, it's kind of like just fruit, like whatever is ripe at the moment is what they put out in the store, and that's kind of how we run things, for better or worse.
Yeah, we typically try to put at least all of our coffees, or I think we try to reserve
Yeah.
enough stock of each of our coffees to put on either pour over or espresso. It gets really challenging when sometimes we're working with like say 10 kilogram lots, and we have to like be really, really, conservative about like what we want to forecast.
Yeah.
But that's also, I guess, an interesting challenge that we've been facing is that like a lot of folks want to try before they buy. But then we're kind of on the same roasting schedule as like our retail, I mean our like service coffee. So we're trying to do a little bit better about like, okay, can we roast a little bit ahead of time so that way when, it is ready on the shelf, people can try it right on pour over, it's ready to serve. People
Yeah.
get that like sense before they kind of blind buy something, which I totally get. I would want to try it before I buy it, especially for the more expensive, like Panamanian geishas that are
Yeah.
like, you know, probably budget breaking for some people. But in any case, yeah, we still try to like present every single coffee that we have at least once on pour over espresso so people can kind of, get a chance to see what our menu is like and our approach for sourcing and brewing and all of that good stuff.
Yeah. So kind of a dual question, so to speak, with both like espresso based brewing as well as pour overs. Do y'all have any particular like philosophy on just like how you brew specifically or what you might think is the best way to brew in general and or for your coffees? Or yeah, is there anything in there?
Yeah, I mean, I think for espresso, we don't explore as much. We've kind of honed in a ratio of like 1 to 2.5 that we generally prefer for all light roasts, and we try to dial around that. It's kind of the sweet spot for whether it's going to be used as like you're going to drink it as just an espresso with some
Mhm.
sparkling water, or if you're going to throw it into a tonic or even like milk. So it's kind of like a nice forgiving area where it kind of works for no matter how you want to drink it. And then we're mainly just playing with pressure and grind size to just make sure the flavors are as balanced as possible. So we do have a Seneso uh, Hydra. So sometimes we'll usually pull our light roast shots at I think 6 bar is what we have it set. But sometimes we'll do long pre-infusions or even do 9 bar for part of the shot. We'll play around with that.
Yeah.
But generally, we don't explore too much just because of the volume. But we tend to prefer just longer profiles, really fast flowing shots that are usually around like 12 to 15 seconds.
Wow.
So we have like some high flow baskets where you can use fairly coarse grind and a fast flow, more like the turbo shot style.
Yeah.
Tends to work pretty well for us for espresso.
For
Uh,
light roast, yeah.
for light roast.
Yeah, medium we still pull pretty traditional, like 1 to 2. But yeah, again, it depends on the coffee and we have a dark roast also, which is also 1 to 2.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we only do light roast on pour over though at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's a different like switch between our approach for pour over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think recommended like recipes and approaches. We use V60 or like it's a Time
Mhm.
War like turbo. They just came out with a new dripper. It's called Turbo. It has like more air channels.
Yeah.
But we do like a V60, like a 4 pour structure, 1 to 16, sometimes 1 to 15, depending on whether the coffee's like more processed. We'll do like a lower ratio, but then if it's like washed or something a bit more like delicate, we'll do like a slightly bigger ratio,
Yeah.
like 1 to 16.
We use a mellow drip now for the
Mhm.
last 2 pours. We tend to, I mean, we're fighting for like small percentage gains at every point now, but we do find that with like a mellow drip, we can get generally a faster brew, like total brew time. It
Wow.
allows us to go a little bit finer and just adds like a really nice
Yeah.
flavor separation, like clarity into the cup
Yeah.
that we prefer a lot. Um, and oddly enough, most of our experimentation recently has just been in getting the water to be perfect for brewing.
Mm.
We actually just released a blog post about this because I went really nerdy into designing custom solutions to inject minerals into the water,
Mm-hmm.
different minerals for our espresso machine versus the pour over tap.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but we've done a lot with just tuning the water recipes as well to bring out like the most vibrancy and clarity as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of that, we're not doing anything too crazy.
Yeah.
It's pretty like a modern style for our light roasts in general across the board.
Yeah, I think it's trying to balance like making sure that the coffee tastes as good as possible, like great as possible, but then introducing consistency across our baristas, right? Like the training and the workflow, everyone can replicate it, right? We're not having a crazy recipe for every single coffee, having like a different dripper, for every coffee. That would be insane.
Oh
We do have
yeah.
a dripper wall at our cafe, and
Uh,
but those are mostly decoration. It's
yeah.
not like you like, okay, I want to like brew from this today.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think any of us would be able to like figure out a dial, like a blind dial, like on the spot with like a deep 27. Be like, boom, okay, like I got your I got your brew right
It,
now. So yeah.
it does blow my mind. I had a friend, I don't remember where, but he went somewhere in the US and yeah, it's one of those where they, you pick out your coffee and your brew method and it's just I'm amazed because we could not do that because the amount of time, effort, all the above. So I'm just like amazed when I hear that people are doing that. It's like, man, good on you. Couldn't be us. Couldn't be us. I'm dying. Well, I think I asked Mabel this question when we've had our first call, but I want to ask both of you again because time has passed, all of the above. But there's so many people in the industry, whether it's baristas, roasters, producers, etc. That you're able to learn from all the above. Who in the industry has been an inspiration to both of you recently that you guys just take inspiration from and really appreciate.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, as specialty coffee roasters, a lot of our inspiration comes from other roasters as well. There's Uh, Probably most recently, and for a very long time, Say has been a very big inspiration for us. Just how they present their coffees and their devotion to helping, expand and help the producer side, as well as just showcase what is possible from just pure terroir, has always been a big inspiration for us. I think from a roast execution perspective, the Picky Chemist is probably one of my favorites personally. Always does an incredible job and is a like definitely a master of his craft and a big inspiration for how to bring out expressiveness in coffee.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I would say Hydrangea is
Yeah.
always a big inspiration to us. He's Bill, uh, who we met at Koro early on when we started roasting, has helped us out a lot. He originally introduced us to Wilton Benitez. He's probably one of the most legendary coffee sourcers that I've ever met. And yeah, he's been a huge help and just a great person to help us get started. So he Bill will always be a big inspiration for us as well.
Mm.
But I don't know. It's such a cool community because there's so many people doing incredible things in different parts of the industry. A lot of the roasters you mentioned earlier have, you know,
Oh,
produced
there's so
stuff that has
many.
been really exciting for us too to try.
Yeah.
It just feels like a really cool community where everybody is willing to help each other and is kind of like gets inspiration from each other. So yeah, I don't know. It's really fun to be in the company of a lot of the great roasters that we've had a pleasure to try.
Yeah, and I think about like long term what our goals are for like Moonwake. Like, of course, we still want to continue serving our customers really excellent coffees and bringing them really unique new perspectives, right, on coffee, but working upstream, thinking about the people that are making those big impacts in the producers' lives, right? Like, for instance, like Christopher Ferran, helping like local economies or like
Oh,
local
yeah.
communities upskill them or give them infrastructure and tools, even if it's like a really small, like depulping machine, right? Like
Mm.
those types of, actions are what help make the industry sustainable long term. And I think like part of our maybe longer term goal is to get to a scale where we can make those tangible, like material impacts. We're still like a small cafe, right? Like buying a few bags, you help the farmer like get some financial assistance, right, for a small period, but if we can, give them more of that like stability and de-risk a lot of their efforts to encourage them to keep producing really amazing coffees,
Mm.
that's how, the entire industry can continue to sustain itself and we can share even more great coffees. And, like we don't want specialty coffee to die out, right? So
Mm.
that's it's kind of a responsibility for all of us to help the entire, like value chain, like upstream and downstream through education and also like giving actual financial support and other ways to,
Mhm.
ensure the viability of this, this
Uh,
ecosystem, right? So, yeah, like folks like that just
Yeah.
doing the most there, even if it seems like a little, those are also inspirations for us as we think about, maybe 5 years out, 10 years out, how we want to make an impact, right, in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. When you all think of like your favorite coffees that you've ever tasted, do either of you have a favorite, either growing region or varietals that you're like, man, every time I have this, I love it.
I think you probably have your like average set, but then you're like specific. Yeah.
Probably like I'm torn between two. It's either a washed or a natural, like Ethiopian landrace. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I think Ethiopian coffees, like high altitude land races, have just like a special spot in my heart from, early on being like super eye-opening for me.
Mhm.
Um, those distinct flavor profiles, it just can't be beaten. Now it's like coupled with nostalgia, so I don't think anything can top that for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I'm kind of the same way. Probably more, I think I actually lean, well, Ming says I'm an emotional taster. So sometimes my mood changes. Like, oh, I like this one day, and like sometimes I'm tired and I want something like not so overwhelming, right? So, but I will say like a really clean, well executed, like natural Ethiopia is always gonna make me smile. I remember last year we had a really great natural Ethio from Nukuseneri. That was like
Mm.
so fun and so versatile, both hot and iced, and even on espresso. Those are the types of coffees that I always have fun drinking. It's like expressive, and sometimes you just want something a little bit more tea-like, and you're like, I just need like a gentle, coffee. But for sure, like I won't say no to a really nice, clean, like natural Ethio as
Yeah.
well.
I am surprised. I was not expecting that answer from either of you. Genuinely, I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting that. So that actually is a lovely surprise for me and for
It's
people.
like you want those highs and lows, but then in general, there's sometimes nice to have that like average, right? That, something that won't like get you off kilter in either way. And I think that's where, those land races kind of hit that sweet spot of being consistent enough. And
Yeah.
yeah, I like a fun processed coffee here and there, but I probably can't drink it every day.
This is true. I will. Speaking of fun processed coffees, we also tasted just I think it was yesterday or 2 days prior. We tasted the Lord Voldemort.
Yep.
Our staff
Again,
got
laughter.
oh yeah. We got such a kick out of it. Yeah, it was like, all right, this is Melon City as what
Yep.
we were calling it. It's just wild. Yeah, it was a delight. Sorry, I just had to tell you that we did like it. It was a little much, but we did like it.
It's a
I like
lot. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
the lager more. Let's just say I'm so sorry. Um, oh man. Well, now looking at, I'm so sorry. Oh man, it was just awesome. It was, it was so melon. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, so looking at Moonwake now and how far you've come, do either of you at this time kind of like have like goals for your future, or are you two kind of just enjoying where you're at and just loving the fact that you have a retail space now, you're killing the game at roasting, what's going through your minds as you kind of look towards the future for Moonwake?
I think we're both of the personality where it's a bit of a curse and a blessing, I suppose, but we always want to do better. So I think we're one of those people that are very hard to stay satisfied, and maybe to a fault sometimes, where we probably should enjoy the current moment a bit more.
Sure.
But I think we have so much aspirations for Moonwake and
Mm.
for just every aspect, presenting coffee better, making a bigger impact for both our customers, but also for producers and for the industry. That we're definitely always just looking ahead and trying to push forward and seeing how we can do better in every area and make a bigger impact next year.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mabel mentioned it already, but we definitely want to keep growing our customer base and be able to get to a point where we can um, make a bigger material impact for the producers that we're working with, either by being able to buy a much larger portion of their lot at a higher price so they can be paid more fairly,
Mm.
but also so that we can start contributing back to that community as well with investments, with ideas, with other ways that we can just make their lives a little bit easier and try to solve problems. Whether that's, I mean, a lot of it's unknown. We have to go there and, work with them a bit more to figure out what's the best way we can help.
Mm.
But certainly we're in a state, I feel like, where, the industry isn't super sustainable in its current form. And we have to find ways to really like make customers aware and value specialty coffee appropriately, but also make sure the producing countries are taken care of, so
Yeah.
that they can chart their own like brighter future as well. So yeah,
Mm.
sorry, a bit of a ramble all over the
Yeah.
place.
I guess like tangibly, we're hoping to expand to at least one more location, maybe two, just from like a retail perspective.
Yeah.
Obviously want to grow our, customer base, again, all in service of that scale.
Mm.
Hopefully we get to go to Origin at some point and start seeing those like what are some of the big areas that could use problem solving. Like Ming's an engineer, historically by trade, a mechanical engineer. So, being able to apply a lot of that, what he's learned And then for me, from my kind of like business background, trying to see where we can leverage a lot of that, like our previous histories to, again, help like grow the industry upstream from the producer perspective. Sometimes you don't know. It's like something as easy as like, oh, I need to build a road. Like sometimes that's all the producers need, right? But we still need, to be able to like help them or help us like help them in a way, So and having one small shop is just the beginning, I guess is the short answer to all that.
Yeah. And what a great answer. Yeah. Again, Ming, Mabel, this was absolutely amazing. Thanks so much for taking the time. If I haven't said this already, like again, number one, we generally do believe you to be one of the top five roasters in the U.S. Like, and that's not, us trying to, like that's being genuine, like we very much appreciate you, and when we say that, we don't only mean in terms of like tastiness, but like people who are wonderful, who are actually caring, so to speak, and so it's just as nice as it is, and we are very thankful that you're thankful that we're carrying you. Nonetheless, we're the ones who are genuinely like honored that you trust us to serve your coffee. I hope you know that like very much anytime we're able to do this is like we're the ones who are giddy and just can't believe, little cafe in St. Louis, Missouri gets to serve your coffee. That is genuinely crazy. And so we're genuinely thankful to have you guys. And again, if I haven't said this, if you guys ever come out to St. Louis, we would, love to host you. We would love to, do a coffee roaster takeover, whatnot with y'all. We love to host people, and we haven't done it very much, but we've been trying to get our U.S. roasters to do it. So, maybe we'll get you out here someday too. We'd love it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd be awesome. We would love that.
Yeah.
And honestly, yeah, thanks for sticking with us too for the last, almost 2 years and being part
Oh,
of the journey.
same.
We're all kind of it all starts one step at a time, whether you're small, whether you're big. So we're just glad to, be on this path together. And
Absolutely.
you guys have great ribs, right? Out in St. Louis. Is
We
that right?
do. The
All
ribs are
right.
true.
I was gonna say, I was like, that's another, that's the second priority to come
That's
out to St. Louis,
it's a
for
good
sure.
priority.
Yeah,
I will not say that's not a good priority. It very much is. Um, Yeah, come out here, have some ribs, drink some, show your coffee to St. Louis yourselves, with us, and we'll have a blast. But anyway, until then, absolutely a delight chatting with you two. Thank you again. I'm sure we'll keep in touch as time goes on. Yeah.
for sure. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, David.
Thank you
And
so much.
maybe we'll see you in San Jose, at least San
Yes,
Diego. Sure.
that's for sure. Awesome. Well, take
Thank
care. Have
you.
a great
Have a
day.
great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.